How's it going, everybody? International Master Danny Rensch here again for Chess.com's YouTube channel, and boy, am I excited to be here. I am high on life right now, having just broadcasted coverage of Round 4 of Weiken Z, Tata Steel Weiken Z Super Chess Tournament with Grandmaster Ben Feigold. We had a ton of fun, and why did we have so much fun? Well, because the chess was awesome. And among the incredible games played today was one of the best chess games I have ever seen in my life. I kid you not. And maybe it's the caffeine talking or the fact that I haven't slept in over 48 hours. But I'm going to review a game that was just blew my socks off. And to make the experience even more memorable, Ben and I were actually joined by the world champion playing the black pieces in this game. That's Vishy Anand, if you're keeping score at home. He joined us during our broadcast on Skype to talk about what happened in the game as far as his preparation as well as over the board, and his thoughts on his opponent's play, Aronian being the world number 3, and pretty much everything therein. It was an unforgettable experience. Tons of thanks go out to him for being kind enough to join to us, pretty much just because of the kindness of his own heart. No other reason. And he was probably pretty pumped about having just played one of the best games he's played in several years. I don't think that anybody would deny it. Just an incredible game. Anytime you win with the black pieces in less than 25 moves against a 2,800 plus opponent, you did something right. So as we're learning, Anand is not to be toyed with in the semi-Slav, right? Especially the Moran variations. Here we see a mainline semi-Slav, and after d takes c4, b5, bishop d3. If you want to see what he played against Kramnik in his world championship victory to take the title from Kramnik several years ago, you can look at the line with a6. And a similar idea happened in this game, actually, as once black strikes with c5, which is what black tries to do in this structure in general. It's a Yaroslav structure. Black wants to strike and open up the bishop here. As soon as black does that, he gets compensation for other sacrifice things, such as white having a big center, particularly because that bishop is so strong. He used that principle to maximum effect against Kramnik not once but twice, winning 2 games with the black pieces in that world championship match. The main line going like this, with the critical point coming here, Anand improving over lots of play before that with the move bishop b7, sacrificing the b5 pawn, and playing for all kinds of interesting and dynamic attacking chances. That's not the subject of today's video lecture. As I said, you can review games, all kinds of games. You can use our site, chess.com, and many other places you can find those games with Kramnik. But bishop to d6 is the new and modern way that black is playing right now in the Moran semi-Slav. And after castles, queen c2, we were seeing nothing but theory up until this point where black is over-preparing to break through c5. Again, it's pretty common in this structure that that's exactly what black wants to do. e5 is also a goal of his generally, but specifically in variations where black is committed to the bishop on this diagonal, he really wants to punch this move through. White has to be careful. White wants to prevent that idea, but also can't necessarily do it directly, as that allows moves like a5 to undermine the queenside expansion. Without going into too much detail about the pawn structure here and about all the details that are going on in the thought processes of players at the highest level, what I will say is that I actually have a video lecture over on the main site covering this game because this experience was so awesome and because I thought it was such a great opportunity to talk more about this pawn structure that I've done an entire video lecture series on. In this game, Anand uses the basic positional principles of needing c5 to an incredible dynamic effect, just awesome, and home preparation meets just being brilliant over the board. You're about to be amazed. This was really a ton of fun, and literally this just happened live on Tuesday, January 15th, actually. So you're seeing this video not more than 48 hours ago. Here, Aronian played the move knight to g5, which attacks the h7 pawn, and as Anand admitted to me and Ben afterwards, he had looked at this variation and this idea in his preparation for Boris Gelfand in the World Championship match they played back in May. Obviously, that preparation was never really used, or Aronian would not have played the way he did today. After Anand counteracts this knight g5 move with the aggressive c5, things start to get real messy. The h7 pawn is hanging in multiple ways. Black says he doesn't care and wants aggressive and open counterplay. All of a sudden, you start to see the potential black might have on the king side, and Aronian makes the first mistake here and perhaps his last mistake. In the post-game interview, Anand admitted that his preparation suggests that bishop takes h7 is actually the critical variation for white. He didn't give us too much more after that because he might still use that preparation, only saying that he thought that knight takes h7 was Levon's first mistake. At this moment, Anand shocked the world with a Very exciting move, but also a very principled move when you see all of black's pressure. Knight to g4, exclam. All of a sudden, in classical fashion, you start to have visions of the masters of old times with double bishop sacrifices and a ton of pressure. Black is neglecting not only the pawn he's just lost, but also the exchange on f8. Some quick calculation tells you that it's not really a sacrifice of the exchange, as there's nothing white would be able to do to avoid mate here. And as the game goes on, you're going to see that you could actually argue that Aronian is already worse here with the white pieces after that one mistake and had no other way to get back in the game short of Anand blowing it. A move like g3, which defends the diagonal, fails to a brilliant move that is a common mating net. If you want to pause this video to try to find it, you can. But it's queen h4, booyah, exclamaviach, in your face, camel cake. You take, that's checkmate, Holmes. Look at that. Nothing he can do to stop this queen coming into h2. Black's attack is getting out of control here. There may even be other ways to finish the game off as well. Like knight takes h2 first, heading into f3 might actually be the more accurate way, as queen h4 might possibly be able to met by moving the f-pawn, opening up the queen. So knight takes h2 would also do the trick. Queen h4 check and queen h1 is a ton of fun, we'll say. So Aronian played f4, but after c takes d4, c takes d4, we see all the tricks start to come out. Black to play and play the first of several brilliant moves. Bishop to c5, putting the bishop on pre when there's already a rook on pre. A shocking move that when it was played, we knew we were in for something beautiful. The basic threat is just to take on d4 with check. Pretty simple, and again, if you calculate some obvious moves like knight takes f8, bishop takes d4 check, and queen h4, you see that checkmate is actually unstoppable. Looking at the whole board, you can't forget to see that the key lines occur because of black's powerful bishop on b7. Again, the dynamic thing that was unleashed by the correct pawn structure breakthrough. And I love it when positional ideas support beautiful tactics, right? Like Botvinnik said, tactics serve strategy. This is the game. It really is just incredible. Aronian played a bad move here with bishop e2. In the post-game interview, Anand admitted to us that after d takes c5, knight takes c5, white's only move here is actually the move queen to e2. Lines with knight takes f8 would fail to queen to d4 check, followed by taking on d3, and the mating net opportunities followed by knights, one of the knights coming into f2, are pretty unstoppable. One simple theme might be just to show everybody, make a random move. One of the threats is to give a check, another discovered double check, and finish off with a brilliant mating pattern that you've probably seen before, known as the Venus flytrap. Doesn't get more beautiful than that. All of black's pieces just bursting onto the scene on the dark squares. But after queen to e2, instead of knight takes f8, queen to d4 check, king to h1, knight takes d3, queen takes g4 is white's resourceful defense, because black cannot just check and pick up the queen due to a brilliant knight f6 check followed by queen to the h-file checkmate. White would be turning the table there. Pretty amazing stuff, right? However, after queen takes g4, king takes h7, we see a position with equal material, though black is clearly better in this situation considering the pressure and threats on the king side. Anand says at this point that might have been white's best opportunity. Instead of knight takes f8 or d takes c5, as we said, the move bishop e2 was played, which we all expected some sort of line, and Anand said the first line he looked at was a line with bishop takes d4, knight f2 check. And he felt at the end of a variation like this, similar to the other line, material is equal, with black possessing an edge here for sure, considering all the pressure. But then he thought, and he plays the move, the brilliant move, double exclam, knight d to e5. Every piece is on pre here as far as the obvious captures, but none of them are capturable. The critical line after a move like knight takes f8 becomes clear and is very similar to something we've already seen, with the Venus flytrap occurring. The same would occur if f takes e5 was played, queen takes d4 check, followed by the climax, the brilliant climax. And white is completely lost. After this brilliant double exclam knight d5, let's back this thing up and show it Sports Center time. Replay, instant replay, bam, bam, bam. I could do that all day, baby. Knight takes f8 was not played. Instead, Aronian played the move bishop takes g4, but at this point, white's position is completely lost. However, don't go anywhere, because there's one more incredible treat waiting for you. Black probably has several moves to keep the attack going and already has a ton of compensation and threats against the white king. But the most obvious forms to continue the attack, like queen h4, fail to the move queen h7, forcing a queen trade and head into an endgame where you might still argue black has a ton of compensation, but why risk it, right? Instead, let's go get that biscuit. F5, exclam, cutting off the queen's threat of H7 and threatening queen H4. Black is officially down a rook if you're counting, but who's counting at this point? Anand's already shown that he's willing to give up everybody to finish this thing off in style. And Black only has one idea in mind, queen H4, which is mate, and there's nothing White can do about it. The only thing he could do is knight to G6, which is what Aronin did, delaying the inevitable. But after queen to F6, H3, queen takes G6. Obviously, this is a bluff, as queen H6 would be checkmate. Queen to E2 was met by queen H5, threatening queen takes H3 mate. And any move here is losing. Rook F3 gives back material and then some. Black can win almost everything back and probably have other ways to win. The move played was queen to D3, which fell for an instant interference tactic that caused resignation. Bishop to E3, the last exclam of the game, cutting off the queen defense of the H3 pawn, and there is nothing White can do to stop checkmate. Within a couple moves, the game will be finished off. So, once again, to see the final move in instant replay, what you have just witnessed is certainly the game of the year. I know 2013 is young, but definitely the game of the tournament as far as White and Z is concerned so far. And one of the most exciting games I have seen in a long time. I love it when positional themes lead to really aggressive and dynamic play, and it just proves to show that good preparation and knowledge of these ideas can really pay off. And Anand put on quite the show for us just a couple days ago over on chess.com TV. We appreciate him joining us, and we hope that everyone continues to follow our coverage over there. See you around on the main site. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you around on chess.com.